joining us to talk about the draft and much more, our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Welcome back, Woj.
Rach, great to be here with you. Happy draft week.
Exactly, and let's start with the draft. A couple of days ago, you tweeted that the Pistons were not, quote, fully there yet on Cade Cunningham with that #1 pick. Has anything changed now that we're getting in on draft day?
Rachel, perhaps closer, but still not there and ready as of this hour to give a commitment to Cade Cunningham that he will be the #1 overall pick. And listen, I still think that the Pistons are going to get there before Thursday night. But listen, this is a unique draft, and there are 3 players at the top of the draft who in another year, maybe even last year, would all be #1 overall picks. I think Troy Weaver, the Pistons GM, and that staff just wants to keep talking through it, evaluating it. I don't think it's any hesitancy they have with Cade Cunningham. I think it's really just about how good they think Evan Mobley and Jalen Green are.
Yeah, it's funny. I just left Jalen Green. We're having a conversation about that. He said, I think I should be #1, which, of course, a lot of kids think as they enter the draft. But I said, did you tell the Pistons that? He said, absolutely. So he gave them something to think about there. Are you hearing any trade whispers or teams that are particularly interested in moving up or down as we approach the draft here?
Well, there are a lot of conversations, Rachel, about teams who, certainly would like to get in that top 10. This is a tough top 10 to get into. You're going to have to give up a lot. And I think, we saw the trade with Memphis getting that 10th spot. Certainly a lot of teams knocking on the door with Sacramento at #9. But I think really the big trade talk over the next couple days is going to continue to be centered around Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, Daryl Morey and Elton Brand and their front office. They've been canvassing the league to see what they can get for Ben Simmons, and they're asking for a lot, almost a Harden-esque type package of all-star player, draft picks, pick swaps. Now, that's where you're going to start. And this is a player, remember, who has 4 years left on his deal. They don't have to do a trade by the draft or by the start of next season, certainly.
Right.
But they're motivated to find a deal out there, and they continue to talk to teams. I don't get the sense, though, that they're close to anything, that there's anything imminent, that they have a team yet that's ready to unload the kind of assets they would like to get at this point for Ben Simmons.
So interesting. I think that will be a story for us this week, next week with free agency, all through the offseason. I do want to get back to that trade you already reported. You just referred to it. Jonas Valanciunas heading to New Orleans. Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe heading to Memphis. The Grizzlies also slid up to the 10th pick in the draft as part of that deal. And are you hearing anything about the Grizzlies in particular trying to move up even higher then?
I certainly think the Grizzlies have the assets now to move up again if there's a player that they target. But how far is it worth giving up future picks? How many spots is that worth getting up in the draft? I don't think they're going to get much higher than 10th. And I think being in that top 10 allows Memphis to get a player they really like there. And someone's going to drop to them at 10 that perhaps they're not expecting to drop today. New Orleans paid a steep price to get those contracts off, to get some cost certainty now heading into free agency. That Lakers pick next season, that Memphis gets in a deal, and of course going from 17 to 10. Memphis has potentially 3 first-round picks in next year's draft, and obviously a chance here to get a really good piece at #10. And this is obviously a team that's already gotten in the playoffs. We've seen that young core. You'll have Jaren Jackson Jr. back for the entire season next year. Memphis is really set up nicely now for the future. And New Orleans, they've got cap space now to go out and get involved with Kyle Lowry, perhaps a Spencer Dinwiddie. And if those things don't work out, they can now match an offer sheet or re-sign Lonzo Ball to a deal. So they've got the ability to kind of shore up that guard position and perhaps even get maybe more of an established older point guard in there, which I know David Griffin's wanted to do to kind of anchor that team.
And it's interesting on the Memphis side, too, when you talk about adding draft picks to their core. I mean, not only did they draft well in getting John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., the fact that those guys developed into stars early makes whoever they bring in now, they're all on the same timeline, really, which is incredible and not a position some of the other teams around the league are on. I do want to get to a non-draft item, though, because earlier today you reported Nets assistant coach Mike D'Antoni is leaving the organization. Is he retiring? Is he planning on pursuing another head coach opportunity? Why is he leaving Brooklyn now?
Yeah, definitely not retiring, Rachel. He came in and helped Steve Nash, who certainly he's had a long relationship with, and helped him through that first season as a head coach. And Mike D'Antoni was a finalist in Portland for that head coaching job, I'm told. He'd like to be a head coach again, but I don't think he wants to do the day-to-day grind of being an assistant again next season. If there's perhaps another role in the league somewhere else that isn't that day-to-day full-time assistant job, perhaps that might appeal to him. Obviously, the head coaching hiring cycle now is over for next year.
Yeah, it's so fascinating watching him and Steve this past season. Steve talking to us so much, Woj, as you know, about how valuable having Mike there was, especially when they had the transition with James Harden coming in. I know that organization wishes him well. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see a lot of you in the next 24 hours. I can't wait.
Thanks, Rach. See you soon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.